What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, a special episode, off-season part one of the 2026 off-season heading into 2027. If it's your first time here, welcome in. Hit the follow button, that way you can see when I drop all these videos. We have been 4 years in the making here of this Broncos franchise. And we have some Pro Bowlers to talk about here. We were able to get JT Booth onto the Pro Bowl list. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle being the top two wide receivers, but JT Booth there at wide receiver 3. And then we also, the rookie, and most impressively, the rookie Kevon Richards, the number 1 overall pick we traded up to in the last offseason. If you want to watch that video, see how we got to this point, that'll be right above in the little video menu. I don't know what it's called, but it's going to pop up on the screen for you. So you can click on that. So those are only 2 Pro Bowlers. And, it says Jay Simmons, but that's Jeffrey Simmons. So only 2 Pro Bowlers for the Broncos. As you can see at the top there, Super Bowl 61 is going to be the Bills versus the Falcons. One thing I did want to take you through is just pop into these teams, see how their rosters are constructed. 99 overall, Josh Allen. They still have James Cook. Their receivers, they have Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, this 98-speed superstar, 22-year-old out of TCU. Dawson Knox, they no longer have Dalton Kincaid. Their offensive lines, whatever. We don't need to look at that. Greg Russo, one of the best sim defenders there is. They also have 2 superstar defensive tackles in Ed Oliver and Jaron Shields. Another really good outside linebacker, Miles Jack, Matt Milano. They still have Tre'Davious White, Kyer Elam. They also have this dude, star dev, just a second-year guy, Bubba Newkirk, which is a sick name. They're going to have Sergio Wright and Taylor Chapman. So a couple drafted safeties. And then the Falcons, mostly the same. Mostly the same rosters they have in real life. Desmond Ritter's just an insane sim quarterback, 86 overall. How about 99 Bijan? 90 Drake London. They also have this rookie wide receiver as their number 2. How about 99 Kyle Pitts? Pretty insane. Their offensive line, I don't really care about that. They get Bryce Huff from the New York Jets. Jonathan Wheeler as well. Grover Stewart. Again, their defense isn't anything crazy. They do have A.J. Terrell, who's very good, with Jeff Okudah. So good 2 corners. Jesse Bates, obviously very good, and then Richie Grant. So Falcons are pretty similar. Bills are pretty similar. They've upgraded in some places, but that is going to be Super Bowl 61. So we're going to advance to Super Bowl week here, see what we need to do in the offseason, the part 1 of the offseason. We can view our yearly rewards here. How did we stack up? We had nobody in the MVP race, which is not surprising. Sean Payton finishes 5th in Coach of the Year, though. I will take that. AFC, JT Booth was the 4th player on Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, we did not get anybody. Ray Hodges almost snuck Offensive Rookie of the Year out, despite only really playing when Quez Watkins was out. Tavares Streets also snuck on that list despite missing probably like 6 games with injury. Kevon Richards, there he is, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Are you surprised? He was on the freaking Pro Bowl team as a rookie. So we love Kevon Richards around here. Great decision to trade up for him. As you can see, man, Phil just not making the top 10 quarterback list again this year. Zaire Johnson 6th on the running back list. JT Booth wins AFC Wide Receiver of the Year over Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, and company. James Callahan, our left tackle, that is a fill-in, almost won Best Offensive Lineman. Ashton Ford, young center, also on the list. Kevon Richards 5th. Zach Allen 10th on the Best Defensive Lineman in the AFC. Linebackers don't have anybody. DBs do not have anybody. Kicker, Jake Verity finishes 3rd. And yeah, that's our awards for the year. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at the playoff bracket because I want to show you how the Bills got to this point. They took down the 2 seed, the 1 seed, and the 3 seed to get to the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Falcons, the 2 seed in the NFC. So no real surprise there. We don't need to upgrade those players right now. We can just jump in to see who is Super Bowl 61 champion. That's going to be the Atlanta Falcons, 21-14. They take down the Buffalo Bills for their first ever Super Bowl. Jesse Bates, defensive MVP. Don't see that very often. As you can see, Dak Prescott is the 2026 Regular season MVP Doug Peterson, Coach of the Year. Dak also wins Player of the Year. Micah Parsons wins Defensive Player of the Year. Rookie of the Year, the Jets quarterback Lawrence Matthews, and us getting Kevon Richards on Defensive Rookie of the Year. So the Cowboys, pretty disappointing, to be honest. They have the Offensive Player of the Year, NFL MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year, and they cannot reach the Super Bowl or even the NFC Championship game. So we can take a look at our 2026 retirements here. Shaq Mason, Cody Whitehair, and Tyler Lockett, the K-State boys, go out together. Derrick Henry retires. Jake Matthews, Joel Bitonio, Ryan Kelly, Devontae Adams. So this is huge. Key pieces of our rivals are retiring. Devondre Campbell, Trent Brown, Darren Waller, Michael Thomas, Micah Hyde, Joe Thuney, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans. There we go. Not even going to get the chance to re-sign Shaq Barrett. He retires after 13 great years in the NFL. We loved having him back. Bunch of guys that aren't on rosters, Randy Gregory included, retired here. So there's your retirees for the 2026 season. A lot of guys, a lot of household names, really, really good players retiring here. So now we can look at upgrading these players. Okay, here we go. We got our upgrades for JT Booth, who we are trying to make a deep threat. So let's give him some deep threat things. We want to make him, oh yeah, that's a big upgrade right there. +2 to release, +1 to catching, and awareness. He's going to go up. He's a superstar X Factor. By winning Offensive Player of the Year in the AFC, he was able to get a dev trait upgrade, which is incredible. Kevon Richards, we also drafted as normal. He should be star dev now. +2. Oh, he's superstar. Wow, he makes a massive jump. That's exactly what we needed from the number 1 overall pick. And then J.R. Bowles. I don't even know who this guy is, but we will upgrade him to 70 overall, as he's probably a practice squad guy. Now we can take a look at how the 2027 Denver Broncos are going to look here, and part of that's going to be re-signing players, but we do not need to do that until next week, so let's sim ahead. Now, I will say we should be good to go on re-signing players. We've re-signed them throughout the season, as we've kind of shown in a few different videos. But we are able to see who we have to re-sign here. Okay, so biggest thing on the docket is going to be Philip J. Holcomb. Are we accepting his option? Absolutely. He played very, very well. We're going to be taking him on the roster. So we have accepted Phil's option. All these other guys are kind of lower of the roster guys. So now we have to decide who we want to bring back. And I don't think we're going to bring Marvin Mims back. As much as I like Marvin Mims, we have a guy, Ray Hodges, who was 4th on the Rookie of the Year in limited action. He's very exciting, very good player. We're going to let Marvin Mims walk. We don't need to pay him. Riley Moss, an interesting guy because our corners are fine. He's just not very good in man, not very good in zone. Quite honestly, I think we let him go as well. Ben Powers at left guard, we might bring back. Now, a guy I do want to bring back is Randall Newman. I think it makes sense. He was so good for us. Yeah, so good for us as an undrafted free agent. We signed him midway through the season. We're going to bring him back, obviously. A.J. Dillon also going to get a nice... I kind of want to give him a 1-year deal, though. Let's see if we can get a... Let's see if we can do a team-friendly deal for A.J. Dillon here. He does not want to come back to us. That sucks because I really like A.J. Dillon. Just didn't want to pay him the money. Drew Lock, however, we will bring back as Phil's backup. Love Drew Lock. Never letting him go. Unfortunate. Now we have to make a decision between our defensive tackles here. Javon Kinlaw missed a lot of the season. Tristan Hill was pretty good. They both want a similar contract. So, again, we're going to bring back Juwan Morrison, who once, we're not even going to give him a bonus. Come on now. We're going to give him a bonus. What are you talking about? There we go. Juwan Morrison comes back. He was huge for us down the stretch, so I wanted to keep him. We don't keep A.J. Dillon, so we're going to be looking for that power back. I do want to keep J.K. Scott. If you remember in the Raiders game, last video, he had a punt that ended up at the 1-yard line and actually resulted in a safety. So that was a massive play in that game. So we are going to re-sign him. It looks like we're down to, a backup center, Alex Forsyth, Adrian Amos, Anthony Walker. So these are depth guys we can kind of sign. We have $122 million, so keep that in mind. Couple defensive tackles that I don't think we really need to go crazy on. I'm not going to re-sign Overeem. Ben Powers, J.L. Skinner, and Riley Moss are kind of the question marks here. So I want to look at our depth chart. I want to look at the roster real quick because I want to make an educated decision on who we want to bring back. So for left guard, we have Ben Powers, and then we have Elijah Byron. So Elijah Byron's very, very strong. Very strong. 90 strength. Pass blocking is mid. Run blocking is actually better than Ben Powers, which I like to see. He's just not a pass blocking guy. We can build that up, though. So I don't necessarily want to bring back Ben Powers. He's 30 years old. Hasn't done anything too crazy. Ashton Ford is going to obviously be the starter over Forsyth. I don't see a reason there. We've been starting Jermichael Pitts at right guard. I'm actually just going to go ahead and move Jermichael Pitts to right guard right now because he is currently a right guard. He is our starting right guard. He will be our starting right guard heading into next season, and I want that reflected on the chart. You can see he was battling with Chris Milner, but it wasn't even close when we got into the games. I mean, he's a much better he's not even better. I don't understand it. Jermichael Pitts is he's just been playing better than Chris Milner ever was. He looks bigger. He is bigger. And then McGlinchey's going to be at right tackle. So our left end is going to be interesting. I think we might have to move some of these guys maybe. Zach Allen's still there. D tackle. So we have Kinlaw and Hill, neither one of which are going to supplant Emilio Delgado. So I want to bring in someone that kind of works with them. Obviously, Taylor Combs and Javante Carruthers will probably not be on the roster, but we do have Kaliko Wall at left outside linebacker. He's kind of slowed in his development, which I don't necessarily like, but we have X Factor Drew Sanders at linebacker. We have a couple guys. We could definitely upgrade the middle linebacker position. Baron Browning is going to be our right outside linebacker. Cornerback. See, we have Alontae Taylor. Riley Moss is our fourth guy. We got Eric Woodbury last year in the draft as well. I don't think Riley Moss is a guy. 27 years old. I don't think we need to bring him back. Justin Simmons is going to be our starting safety, although he has regressed tremendously. Both our strong safeties have regressed. Like, they're 74 overall, both of them. I'll take a look at their contract again, but to me, right now, I think we've re-signed all the players that we need to re-sign. So Mims is not going to be re-signed. Riley Moss, I don't think we're going to re-sign. J.L. Skinner wants a pretty cheap contract, honestly. Ben Powers, we're not going to re-sign. A.J. Dillon doesn't want us to re-sign him. Neither one of these D tackles make much sense. Adrian Amos doesn't make much sense. Let's look at J.L. Skinner. I like J.L. Skinner. I think that he's a guy we could bring back. There we go. Okay, so we have at least one strong safety on the roster, but everybody else you see here is going to hit free agency. So that was re-signing our players. We are good to go on that. We did ink Pat Surtain to a big deal as well. So we're advancing to stage one of the free agency here, and we're going to do this all leading up to the draft. So then I'll do, part two will be the draft-specific offseason. So you'll kind of see how I split it up last time was free agency, season recap, stats, all that stuff. Speaking of, let's look at the stats real quick before we get into free agency because I want to show how good Phil was. He had 33 touchdowns and just 26 interceptions. His interception numbers were up, I'm not going to lie. He had more yards than he did the year before, but his interception numbers were up. Zaire Johnson, though, ran for almost 1,500 yards. It's not going to show A.J. Dillon on here because we advanced past that, so that's kind of on me. However, 1467 and 7 touchdowns for Zaire Johnson. Very, very good year. Juwan Morrison also had 20 for 94 and a touchdown. Receiving, JT Booth just blew everyone out of the water, although Marvin Mims was somewhere in here with about 50 catches and just about 700 yards. So 14 touchdowns for JT Booth. He was really, really good. There's Ray Hodges' rookie numbers, 39 for 490 and 3 touchdowns. Tavares Streets, just 20 for 188 and a touchdown. But that's the future. Those guys are the future here. Blocking-wise, how many sacks did we give up? McGlinchey and Pitts each gave up 3 on the right side. Mitchell Allen gave up 2. Ford and Byron each gave up 1. As you can see, Callahan only played, about 40% of the snaps. We had Mitchell Allen come in for him. I don't know what to do at left tackle, to be quite honest with you. Drew Sanders leads the team in tackles. Zach Allen, 14 tackles for loss. Kevon Richards, 12 sacks. Kaliko Wall, 3 interceptions. We had 5 interceptions as a team. That's crazy. Pat Surtain had 0 interceptions. He did have 8 deflections, though. Same with Kaliko Wall. Drew Sanders and Baron Browning each forced 1 fumble. Although I'm pretty sure Drew Sanders forced 2 in 1 game. So, not sure how that's a thing, but whatever. Regardless, there's were our stats for the year. Team stats, we were first in the NFL in offensive yards. We were 4th in the NFL in defensive yards. 8th in the NFL in points scored. 19th in the NFL in points allowed. So the defense has some room for improvement for sure. But overall, it was a really, really good year for the Denver Broncos, back in the playoffs for the first time since Super Bowl 50. So let's hit the free agency market here and see what we have. How about fixing our left tackle spot with Ronnie Stanley? What do we think about that? There is not a lot of talent in here. Not a lot of talent at all. Holy Jahmyr Gibbs, though. Okay, so we can take a look here. Quarterback, we're obviously not going after, but you can see some big names there. Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, Will Levis, Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, Sam Howell. A lot of guys. How about Jahmyr Gibbs? Oh, my goodness. If you have a chance to get Jahmyr Gibbs, why would we not? Why would we not? Jahmyr Gibbs is so sick on this game. We're going to put an offer in, although we're going to have to raise it up. We're going to go $4 million, and we're going to go $2.5 million. You might be thinking, okay, why do we need to get Jahmyr Gibbs? Well, have you seen Jahmyr Gibbs play football? He is incredible. So 94 speed as well. That's huge. We could also go after a guy like Zach Charbonnet. You know, we are kind of missing our power running back, but Tank Bigsby wearing a beanie in his headshot's pretty funny. But I could have got Izzy Abanikanda, Deuce Vaughn also there, Alvin Kamara on the tail end of his career, Kendre Miller, Rashad White, excuse me. But yeah, AJ Dillon's down there. To be honest with you, I've forgotten about Juwan Morrison because I'm all in on Jahmyr Gibbs. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's go. Marvin Mims, the number one wide receiver on the board, does not want to re-sign with us. Romeo Doubs is there as well. Calvin Ridley, Alec Pierce. We've had Terrace Marshall on the team before. Nico Collins is on my other Broncos franchise. Some decent receivers down here, but nothing we can't find in the draft. Tight end, however, there is Dalton Kincaid. Unsure why he was not on the Buffalo Bills roster. Let's see if we can. I didn't mean to click that. I wanted to see his player card to see kind of who he played for. Because Dalton Kincaid, they traded him to New England. Okay. Just wasn't getting used in Buffalo. Traded to New England. Him, Irv Smith, Schoonmaker, Jelani Woods, Jake Ferguson starting tight end for the Miami Dolphins, I believe. Here's the big piece, right? We've had our issues at left tackle, but we can shore that up right here with Ronnie Stanley. What do we think, Ronnie Stanley? Okay, so we're not even in the top few offers on Ronnie Stanley, which tells me we're going to have to go up to like 13.5 and give him like 16.5 guaranteed. Offer didn't really move up too much. We're second behind the Falcons, who had their left tackle just retire. I saw that. So let's go up to, what did I say, 13.5. Let's go 14, and let's go 17 for the money here. This is going to be the biggest offer that I offer him. It's fine. We're fifth is what it says, but we'll see if that money talks at the end of the day. 19 teams interested in him, so we don't necessarily need him per se, but I would like to have him. So could also bring Garrett Bowles back, who's 35 years old now, but I'd love to get Ronnie Stanley. Left guard, obviously, Ben Powers is one of the guys. We could go after Steve Avila or Kendrick Green. None of those guys look intriguing to me. We have our center already in Ashton Ford. Our right guard could be shored up. I can't lie. We do have Jermichael Pitts, but as you saw, Jermichael Pitts and Mike McGlinchey each allowed 3 sacks on the right side, so there's just no good offensive linemen, really. Now, defensive line, we have Kevon Richards on the left side, so no need to look here. We could look for defensive tackle depth, though. I don't hate that idea. If we can find someone young, ish behind. Like, we have Kinlaw, Hill. Like, none of those guys really intrigue me. No one's really young or high dev or anything. So, yeah, we're gonna skip D tackle for right now. We can add one in the draft. We could get some right in depth though. I think that would be kind of a big deal for us. Who do I want to get? There's Bilal Nichols, Josh Pascal, Devontae Wyatt. I kind of like Keon White, but he doesn't like us. So he wants a warm weather state. Colorado is not that, apparently. So left outside linebacker, we have Kaliko Wall. But man, could we use Nolan Smith as well, huh? Nolan Smith would be a fun edge rusher. Although we already have Baron Browning and Cleavon Richards as well. Devin Bush, we could use a or Bobby Okereke. We could use a fast middle linebacker. I'm not opposed to that. Monty Rice, 28 years old. Any of these guys, like 29 for Devin Bush is not bad. Right outside linebacker, we could go Khalil Mack, move him to right end. Although Zach Allen kind of plays right end at the moment. So we could just have him in on pass rushing downs. 85 speed though. Yader Gross Matos is pretty good as well. Corners, I think we're fine. Like, we could get a guy, but we don't need a guy. Like, we need a fourth guy, but none of these guys are really fourth. Like, Keely Ringo might be an interesting piece. Caleb Farley. I kind of like Caleb Farley here. 96 speed. Yeah, let's go with let's see what Caleb Farley is about on a 1-year deal. Let's see. Anybody else interested in Caleb Farley? I assume. Okay, well, apparently not. So, free safety, Quandre Diggs, Jordan Whitehead are the best on the board. How about Sidney Brown at strong safety? We could really just open up our defense and sign one of the best strong safeties. The best strong safety in free agency. Let's give him that contract. And we are pretty far down the pecking order. It looks like the Jaguars are very interested. Let's give him a player-friendly contract here. See if that ups us at all. It does take us up to what the Jags are offering, so we'll kind of see. We'll kind of see what happens. We don't need a kicker. We don't need a punter. Now it's the time to figure out what kind of depth can we get. So middle linebacker, we obviously have Leo Chenal as our number 2, but how can we get faster? How can we get better on special teams? So we need some guys that can make plays. Divine Diablo fits that bill a little bit because we just got rid of one of our guys. I don't remember who. It was Anthony Walker, I think, and he's pretty low down here. If I'm remembering right, Anthony Walker Jr. There he is, 65 overall. So an upgrade over him on special teams. How about like Channing Tindall? Like, he is 91 speed. Like, he could be like, really, I'm looking at speed and tackle here. 91, 82. Who's got the best tackling? How about 86? Chad Muma. He's not as fast as I want him to be. Michael Walker would be an upgrade. Dion Miner, not that good at tackling. Monty Rice, 87, 86. That's a pretty good one. Divine Diablo might be the guy. I would love to give Divine Diablo I don't want to give him a big contract, but 2 years is pretty good. I know he doesn't want that. He wants a 3-year deal, but he's just going to have to deal with it if he wants to be a Denver Bronco. So let's see if we can. I mean, there's got to be a defensive tackle we can get, right? That's like good, but young, but still has some, he can play a bit. Let's look at strength here. DJ Reader, Matt Ioannidis, Tyler Shelvin, Aleem McNeil. Now, that's a pretty interesting one. He's 72 speed. Okay, I already have hit my max amount of offers, so we're actually going to skip to part 2 of the offseason. Like, not part 2 of the offseason, but stage 2 of what we're doing here. And we are going to do some, again, in the second part of the offseason video, we will get into all of the recruiting or the drafting, the scouting, all of that. That will all be in the second video. So please hit that like button, hit that follow button, and subscribe. That way you guys can see when I'm dropping this content. Now, let's look at our free agents. Who did we sign? Who did we not sign? It looks like we We signed Jameer Gibbs. That's all that matters, really. We signed Caleb Farley as well and Divine Diablo. We don't get our left tackle right away, but there's 21 teams interested right now. So what we can do here, who have we targeted? We have targeted Ronnie Stanley. Who do we miss out on? Dalton Kincaid goes to the Cardinals. Anybody Teron Johnson goes to the Raiders. That's unfortunate a bit. Sidney Brown does not sign with us. He goes to LA to pay higher taxes. Nolan Smith to the Jets. Aziz Al-Shair to the Raiders. Anybody else in our division? How about Cam Smith to the Chargers? Jared Goff returns to Detroit after leading the Raiders to the AFC Championship game. What a return for him. Parker Washington heads to Tampa. And they get their center. After their center retired, they get Scotty Anthony. So we'll go back to looking at all players again. I do want to take a look at anybody like crazy fast, crazy good, crazy skilled that we wouldn't normally pick up on the Broncos. I don't see anybody in here that I'm like, wow, we need to add that guy. A.T. Perry, though, is a pretty interesting one. Nobody really looks crazy. Dontavian Wicks is interested a little bit. Tyler Shelby as well. Willie Spurlock, Tyquan Thornton. None of these guys are really standing out to me, so I don't necessarily think we need to do anything crazy. Dalton Kincaid to the Cardinals is a very interesting one. Keep in mind, we have Chigo Okonkwo, we have Tavares Streets, and we have Kendall Newman at tight end. So don't really need to bring in anyone. Maybe Darnell Washington for blocking, but doesn't seem worth it. Ronnie Stanley, however, is kind of our top target at this point. Speaking of, let's evaluate the offers here. He signs with the Packers. Okay, so Ronnie Stanley signs with Green Bay. We do not get our left tackle of the future, or of the present, I should say, because he's 33 years old, but that's okay. We have left tackles that are doing the job. We could go out and sign Rob Weiner, which is an incredible name. But again, we don't really need to do that. DeMarcus Lawrence also goes to the Chargers. How did I miss that? Okay, yeah. So I think we're good. I don't think we really need to sign anyone else. At the moment, I will go look at the roster one more time, though, just to make sure, because I don't want to miss out on anybody, you know? We have 2 quarterbacks locked up. We have now 2 very good running backs, and we have 2 other running backs that are probably going to be on the roster. Juwan Morrison has been very good, but Jahmyr Gibbs is going to take his role and just explode with it. So I don't care about that. JT Booth, Quez Watkins, Ray Hodges, Daquan Potter. Okay, so I think we could add another wide receiver. Like we are going to, Ray Hodges is going to get the shot here. He's 6'1", 195. So good receiver. Like we can get by with these weapons, but I would like to add a 4th guy. We'll probably just do that in the draft. Tavares Streets, Okonkwo. We still have Bronson Gathers and Randall Newman, also Joshua Kruger and Brett Bush. These are all guys that have scored touchdowns. I think every single one of these guys have scored touchdowns for us in the last 2 years. James Callahan could be a cap cut. We could go with Mitchell Allen here. I don't exactly know what I want to do. James Callahan's not a good run blocker, so the part of the reason why, we're going to keep him on the roster as our backup left tackle, but it looks like guard is going to be a big emphasis in this draft. Like we're going to have to find some guards like to help bolster our offensive line. Kevon Richards is obviously very good. We could look to sign a better left end, but these rotational guys are pretty okay. I think left end, right end, and D tackle, like D line, is going to be a huge emphasis. We got another linebacker, so we're good there. Could look at right outside linebacker. Corner, we're locked and loaded on now. We have 4 good corners that I feel confident in. We have free safeties. We have our strong safety. We didn't missed out on our guy, but we are going to have 2 5ths and 2 6ths. However, we don't have a second because we traded up to number 1 overall last year. We also don't have a first or a second next year, so we really have to nail this pick. But we'll talk about that more in the next episode of the offseason. So we'll go back to free agents here. We're going to skip, and we're going to just take one more look at the D-line because I want to see, maybe there's a guy that stands out that we can possibly get for a good deal. We have a lot of money to spend. So can we get a guy like, Jadeveon Clowney? Like, that's a pretty interesting 1-year offer. We could get a guy like Jadeveon Clowney. We're trying to win the Super Bowl. So any guys that we can get that are very, very good, like, I feel good about. Like, Eric Armstead as our backup D tackle, like, is that the worst thing in the world? I think he's pretty good. So trying to add guys with superstar dev traits, things like that, although Eric Armstead only has normal now. But what was Davion Clowney's dev trait? Just normal. Okay, so these guys have kind of been falling off, but any right ends that are looking real nice? I don't think so. Right end's kind of weak here. Left outside linebacker, we were gonna go after Nolan Smith, but just missed out on him. Could bring Bradley Chubb back, although I don't really want to do that. Right outside linebacker, though, who else can we get over here? There, we obviously saw Khalil Mack, Kingsley and Nagbury. I remember him from when I was the Packers a few years ago in my online franchise. Let's see. Yeah, none of these guys are really standing out. So we're going to go ahead and try to get Jadeveon Clowney, try to get Eric Armstead, and if we don't get them, it's whatever, right? Like, we're heading to the next week of the offseason here. Did we get any of our free agents? Let's see. Obviously, we didn't get him. Okay, we do. We get Jadeveon Clowney. We get Eric Armstead. So we get 2 guys to bolster our D-line. We obviously get Jahmyr Gibbs, which is going to be so much fun. What a fun time having Jahmyr Gibbs. So now we can kind of skip ahead and get into the free agency recap. Take a look at that. Wrap up free agency. And then next video, we can do all of the draft stuff. So very excited about that. Love doing the draft. It's the best part of rebuilding a team. But we're really going to have to nail our first round pick for sure. So here we go. We will check free agency recap here. And then this is where I will leave you guys and we'll come back in the next video. We signed Jahmyr Gibbs, Caleb Farley, Jadeveon Clowney, Eric Armstead, and Divine Diablo. Those are your newest 5 Denver Broncos. As you can see, let's see the quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson to Green Bay. Daniel Jones returns to the New York Giants. Jared Goff heads to Detroit. And Will Levis goes to Cleveland, with Zach Wilson also going to New York to back up Daniel Jones. So what a quarterback room they have accumulated. Zach Charbonnet stays in our division, goes to the Chargers. Elijah Mitchell to the Patriots. Tyjae Spears to the Packers. James Cook also to the Patriots. Bigsby goes to the Commanders. Abanikanda goes to the Saints. Receiver-wise, Marvin Mims signs with the Dallas Cowboys. Of course he does. Isaiah Hodgins to the Cardinals. Let's see. Dobbs goes to the Jags. Ridley to the, Ridley and Pierce go to the Bucks. Tight end only Dalton Kincaid signed. Ronnie Stanley goes to the Packers. As we saw, we missed out on him. And Ben Powers goes to the Cardinals. Couple of these guards that were just whatever. Jack Conklin goes back to the Titans. Lael Collins to the Browns. DeMarcus Lawrence is in our division as the Chargers. DeForest Buckner goes to the Steelers. What a good fit that is. Aleem McNeil, who we looked at a little bit, goes to the Super Bowl champion Atlanta Falcons. Leonard Williams heads to Houston. Lucas Van Ness, that's a good signing for Seattle. Nolan Smith goes to the Jets. Devin Bush to New Orleans. Okereke to the Bengals. Matt Milano. Harold Landry goes to the Vikings. Interesting signing there. The best cornerback in free agency goes to the Raiders, so that's a tough test for Phil. Adoree Jackson to the Steelers. 3 Jacksons in a row, by the way. Adoree Jackson, J.C. Jackson, Dante Jackson. That's pretty wild. Quandre Diggs to the Browns. Sidney Brown goes to the Rams. Deshaun Elliott, Super Bowl champion Deshaun Elliott, goes to the Giants. Taylor Rapp to the Packers. And Ryan Neal to the Browns. Kickers, punters, nobody really. Oh, Blake Gilligan gets signed by the Rams. So that's going to be our free agency recap. So make sure you guys hit that follow button, hit that like button, and we will see you in part 2 of the offseason here in the next video.